Today's video is going to be about potentiometers. This is an old potentiometer out of a intercom system. This type of intercom system is used in TV broadcast, sporting events, all sorts of things. This is how basically camera operators or different production people would communicate behind the scenes. They typically would use headsets kind of like this. This is an older system. This is made by a company called RTS. A lot of people would know this company as Telex. So the problem with this system is that the potentiometers inside these belt packs, when you adjust the volume, they're very scratchy and they get a lot of static when you turn them. And I'd like to demonstrate, and hopefully this will come through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the earpiece next to the microphone, and I'm going to adjust the volume, and hopefully you guys will be able to hear the static or the noise when you turn it. Okay, so basically you can hear the scratching, essentially moving the potentiometer. So that's essentially the problem with these older belt packs, is they start to go bad after a while, and then they're still usable. Some of them, sometimes you lose the volume control altogether, and this actually was taken out of another unit that I'm working on right now. I'm actually going to be in the process of replacing all of the volume controls in a dozen in a dozen belt packs. So anyway, getting to the point, I thought I might show you guys what the inside of one of these older style units looks like. So the way that it works is there's a tightening nut up here that basically clamps the knob itself to the shaft of the potentiometer, and basically we can take that, put it out of the way. If we take this apart piece by piece, this is the part that would actually mount to the outer frame or the housing of the unit. Here's actually the unit that I'm working on right now. This is the outside, but if you were to drill a hole, this is the thread piece that would go through like this. And if we take this apart a little bit more, we can take the actual shaft off. And the shaft doesn't actually go all the way through the entire unit. It actually stops right here, and it has a coupler that couples onto this white piece right here. So this is actually separate. Okay, and then if we take this back plane off right here, the 4 screws. Okay, so this is just to hold the whole assembly together. Essentially, you have this back plane that screws into this this front piece right here, and that squeezes everything together, holds it in place. And then what we get to here is, I don't know what kind of material this is. It almost seems like some sort of a ceramic material. But if we take that ceramic-like material out, these are the 2 parts of the potentiometer that make it actually function. So what you have here is you have some sort of graphite material right here, and then you have another piece right here, which is probably another graphite material. And the way that this works is you have this little piece in here. If you can look right there, that's actually what you would call the wiper. And what that does is it wipes across this contact here, and all where you see the black is this is actually what produces your different resistance in your circuit. So you have 3 leads that come out of here. You have these 2, and then you have this 3rd one right over here. And normally what you would do is you would connect to one side of the pot, or potentiometer, pot for short, you would connect to one of these leads, and then you would connect to this lead right here, and then in doing so, it would change where the wiper would go across here and change your resistance. So, and then on the back of this guy, there's actually more wipers. So in this component turning left and right, the resistance does not change, because it's you have these metal, whatever material this is, wiping across here, and no matter where you put it, it's always going to have the same amount of resistance. But instead going through this this graphite-like material, it will change the resistance, turning it left and right. So I'm going to demonstrate that here. So if that makes any sense, so you would either have this would be either the input or the output, or positive, negative of your circuit coming in here, and then it would ride on this piece here. So you have these wipers right here that would rest in there, and then you have this other wiper right here that is what actually wipes across this, that actually gives you your difference in resistance. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one of the main reasons why this was having a problem. So probably due to time and being dropped and thrown into a road case or a flight case, over time this material either broke down, or due to shock actually cracked it, and that the volume became intermittent. That was one of the main problems. The other problem is that it had a lot of scratching and crackling when you would turn the volume up and down, like the one that I just demonstrated to you. And so if we look here, this actually has separated. So that's why you had such a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you actually how these things work with a multimeter here. So what I'm going to do is, if I put these two together, we have 0 ohms of resistance. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this broken piece out of here, and we're just going to rely on the material that's left. So we're going to put one lead of our probe there on one side, and we're going to put it just at a random place. Okay, so we're reading 1.3K. Now if I move my probe up, okay, we're at 18. Keep going up. Alright, and we're at 64. So now if I come back down around closer to the black probe, the closer I get, okay, the least resistance we have. So now we're down to 400 ohms. Going to go up, and it already jumped to 5K. Go all the way to the other side, and went to 66. Now the wiper more than likely isn't going to go all the way to the extreme point down here, all the way at the bottom. It might go probably up to where this black probe is. So if we go at an equal amount on either side, we get about 56K. This is actually a 50K. Oh, sorry, my phone's ringing. 1 second. Sorry about that. Always busy. Anyway, so getting back to this, this is a 50K potentiometer, and so if we go in here, let me grab a replacement. Where's my replacements? Let's see here. Okay, so I have a couple different varieties. So I have 250K. Where is my 50K? 1K. Let's do 1K. That's fine. So I'll just do a demonstration with 1K. So what I'm going to do is this is a newer potentiometer, but it's not a newer style. This is actually a fairly old style as well, and actually I would be willing to say that probably this older one was built a lot better. However, the way that it's constructed, the plane, it's as if they've actually got the graphite material on a circuit board instead of this ceramic material. So it should last longer with this circuit board material. More than likely, it's going to have some sort of fiberglass in it that'll make it last a lot longer, and it won't be susceptible to things like shock from hard drops and things of that nature. So anyway, what I'm going to do is, if we look here, if we go across these two outer leads here, okay, we see that it's at 1K or thereabout, close enough, okay? So that is essentially, if you were to open it up, that would be going from, I'm basically measuring between the very bottom, if we actually put this little piece back in here, if you see where the lead is right there, get a little closer for you, that's measuring from here to here, okay? So actually maybe this potentiometer was even a little off, even though it's a 50K, maybe it was more of a 60, and that could be due to time and all sorts of different things. You know, over time it just started to get more resistant. Anyway, so what I'm going to do here is, so that's across those two, which is showing that horseshoe that I just showed you there. If we put right across here, now we're connecting to, and this is going to be a little tricky to hold. Now what we're doing is we've actually gone in line with the wiper. So now when we turn this, we're going to see, and actually let me get you propped up here a little bit more. Gotta love the light in the way. Okay, you should be able to see that, yeah? Yeah. Okay. So what I'm gonna do here, okay. All right. So now I've got it all the way at the bottom, and as you can see, it doesn't go all the way down to 0 ohms. It can't bottom all the way out. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So you're not going to get, even if you turn it all the way down, you're not going to get to you know, completely a complete closed circuit. It's not going to be 0 ohms of resistance. You're always going to have a little something. So if we keep turning this up here, okay, and actually let me do this. Let me put this on manual range. So okay, so there's 1K, and now you can see as I turn it, we can change the resistance. Okay, so basically showing you this is the newer style. Another thing is usually they'll have the what its value is printed on here. Like here it says B1K, so we're just going to ignore the B part and just look at 1K. So that's the value of this. Now so that could be for some people, if for example this was not labeled, or was it labeled? No, it was labeled. Excuse me, it was labeled. So right here, if you can see this, it says A-50K-0HM. So we're only interested in here where it says 50K. And the reason I knew that was the what the resistance of this pot is if you take, like I showed you here, if you take and you go on the outer two leads here, it shows 1K, and that's exactly what this should have done is if we go on the outer edges of this, and let me put this back to auto. Okay, and so there we go. So it's showing 60K, but again, this is an older pot, so we're just going to round up and say, okay, it's or round down rather, that it's 50. So this is just something to kind of help out anybody that has a project like what I'm doing. You know, for example, you know, an old piece of AV equipment, and they're trying to replace something. I was fortunate enough to have the what the value was on here, but sometimes you get different components that don't have anything on there. They're completely blank, and you're like, well, what is this? So that's just one way of figuring it out. And hopefully it gave somebody some insight on exactly how these things work. You know, it's just essentially a variable resistor, and just however far away you get from that main point coming around here, you know, that changes the resistance. So hopefully this was a good example to somebody. Hopefully somebody learned something from this. If anybody out there that knows more about this stuff than I do saw that I made a mistake, please feel free to point it out and let me know. I'm always, you know, we're always learning in this. Everybody's always learning. No matter how good you are at anything, there's always something new to be learned, or there's always a new way of understanding something. So this is the way I understand it, and this is how it makes sense to me, and hopefully it was useful. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you guys think down below. Give it a thumbs up or subscribe. I'm going to try and make this more of a common thing of uploading on a consistent basis. I have a lot of different projects. One, I'd like to do a video on showing me replacing with actually this particular potentiometer, not this value. I need a 50K, but you know, showing how I'm going to do that, because it is a little bit tricky with this old RTS system. This is a RTS. Let's see, RTS BP300. So I'm assuming that stands for belt pack. And you know, maybe it'll be useful to show people on how they can fix their units if they have any like this, or even if they have something like ClearCom, which is another intercom system, party line intercom system. Does the same thing. The only differences is they just change the connectors on here. Anyway, different story for another day. So thanks for watching.